Thank you. My name is Julie Reyes, chairperson for Bronx Community Board 8. Present is our district manager, Farah Kilrubin, our secretary, Margaret Zella, our community coordinator, Fardiyah Malzou, our community associate, Jalen Adorno, by the floor, and hopefully coming our vice chair, Sergio Becbebe. I'd like to start off by first thanking Intech Academy for hosting this evening's meeting. AZA members approved for this evening's meeting are Sylvia Alexander, Lee Chong, Robert Kale, Georgia Santiago, Joel Towns, Karen Walker, and Martin Wolkoff. If you're on Zoom, if any of the members are on Zoom, video Zoom, you have to show your face throughout the remainder of the meeting. A board member marked absent and in attendance via Zoom may be permitted to speak if called on, but does not have the privilege to vote should a vote take place. And a reminder to the board members during the course of the board meeting, kindly raise your hand and then wait to be acknowledged. The guests on Zoom, please note only members of the public who have signed up to speak at the gallery session may address the board during the first portion of the board meeting. I'm just going to skip over and have our precinct commander from the 50th precinct, Captain Abdullah, speak while he's available. He's out in the streets right now, very busy, but he still wanted to address the community. So, Captain, welcome.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Good to see everyone again, although remotely. I wish I could have been there in person, but this will have to do for now. It's just to give you guys an overall what's going on in the 5-0. For the year, we are almost even with crimes for the year. We are at 212 major crimes for 2026. And in 2025, for the same period, we had 213. So we're down by one crime, really. For the month of February, unfortunately, we had a slight uptick in crime. Say it again. So for the month of February, we have a slight uptick. We had 91 major crimes versus 77 last period, and that's primarily from grand larceny autos, from automobiles. Also, we had grand larcenies from the elderly, and that's in the form of scams. Unfortunately, those crimes are not visible by patrol. The elderly, they're getting phone calls at home and they're being scammed. So I need everyone to get the word out there, not to fall for it, because some of these victims are sending their life savings away to scammers over the phone, and that's considered a grand larceny. And unfortunately, we have to do more about it as a community. We have to reach out to the elderly. We have social media. We're going to put it up, but some of the elderly in our community don't have access to social media. So please just get the word out there. Don't fall for these scams. Just to give a quick updates, we had last month, as you guys know, it was on the news. We had a triple shooting on 242 on Broadway. I'm happy to report that we have apprehended 2 out of the 3, including the person who pulled the trigger, and they're currently in custody. And then back in January, we had a shooting on 242 on Broadway. We have also apprehended all involved in that case, and no one is outstanding with that. So that's what I have so far for this month and the state of the 5-0 precinct.
Thank you, Captain, and welcome to the district. You mentioned the 2 shootings, 242nd Street, and you're mentioning 238th Street as well, correct?
Yes, and that's the one on 242nd Street. That was in January of this year, where 2 people were shot. One, unfortunately, fatally. We had 2 outstanding people of interest who have since been arrested. the perpetrators and also the victim have no ties to the community here. They were from upstate New York. They just happened to be in the area, and fortunately, the crime happened in the confines of our precinct.
Thank you. Any questions? Ed?
I am, Captain. Just a clarification. So the shooter that was apprehended, that was the shooting on 238th Street you're talking about?
So both shootings. We talked about the one on 242 and Broadway. That was in January. And then fast forward to February 11, as the one on 238 and Broadway. So yeah, I talked about that one as well. On February 11th, when we had 3 youth shot at that location, 2 were wounded and 1 unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. So for that one, we're looking for 3 individuals, and we have apprehended 2 out of the 3, including the person who pulled the trigger.
And Captain, was the person who pulled the trigger a youth or an adult?
He was 19 years old.
Thank you.
No problem.
And Captain, was there also a stabbing at a school recently?
Say it again? I'm sorry, the speaker here is a little staticky.
Sure. Was
Yeah,
there a stabbing at a school recently in the eastern part of the district?
Yes, the stabbing that happened earlier, that also happened on February 11th. As you can see, February 11th was not a good day for us. It happened at Marie Curie High School. We have apprehended the person who did the stabbing, who happened to be a student in that school as well. So the victim, both victims and the person who did the stabbing attended school there. And that case has been closed. We made the apprehension for that as well.
Great. Any other questions? Anybody on Zoom have questions? Thank you for your time, Captain.
I think we got one more back there.
I'm sorry, Captain. I just have a question. Has there been any hate crimes in our district?
No hate crimes. No hate crimes for the period. So I'm happy to report that we have no hate crimes.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, that's it. Thank you again, Captain.
Thank you, and it was nice to see everyone.
We go back to the agenda. We'll go to item number 2, public gallery session. Okay, members of the public who have signed up to speak are allotted 3 minutes to address the board. The presentation should cover only matters of general interest. Anyone wishing to speak may call the board office in advance. The board office number is 718-884-3959. You may also contact the board to be put on the mailing list. And this evening, we do not have any speakers from the gallery. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay, we have none, so then we'll move on to our next item. Item number 3, report from the Bronxborough President's Office. No one is present, so we'll go on to roll call. Our Secretary Margaret Della.
Sylvia Alexander.
Sylvia Alexander.
Here.
Debbie Allen. Constance Barnes Watson. Here. Bob Bender.
Here.
Carol Blake. Here. Joy Campbell Privateer. Sebastian Jalably. Lee Chong.
Here.
Dr. Wayne DeBeetham. Ingrid De Leon. Margaret Della present. Thea Ego.
Here.
Nicholas Fazio. Miriam Filer. Stephen Krug.
Here.
Dr. Julia Gomez. Edward Green.
Present.
Emily Hausman.
Here.
Deborah Harris.
Here.
Rashida Hilliard.
Here.
Barbara Kale.
Here.
Rabbi Kaplan. Laura Levine Pinedo. Nicole Lewis,
Present.
Steve Matthews,
Here.
Charles Mertler,
Here.
Daniel Nunez, Angel Ortega,
Right.
Richard Perez,
Here.
Julie Reyes, Brittany Reynoso, Daniel Rowan, Georgia Santiago, Jessica Sosa,
Here.
Laura Spalter,
Present.
Cesar Tiguara Acosta, Jill Towns,
Here.
Deborah Travis,
Present.
Sergio Villaverde, Karen Walker,
Present.
Martin Waldo.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, approval of the board meeting minutes of February 10th. Any discussions on the minutes? Any motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Anybody disagree? Will approve. Thank you. Item number 7, discussion of the executive committee meeting minutes of March 4th. Any discussions?
Okay.
I'd just like to make a note for the discussion. It'll be added at the exec that it was mentioned during the treasurer's report that the board will be a little bit conservative, holding back maybe about 5% around 5% till about late on our budget, due to the fiscal situation that the city is in. Any other comments or discussions? Okay. So then I will move on to the next item, chairperson's report. I will say that for the majority, please look at our minutes for the executive committee meeting. I'd also like to add, and this is in the minutes as well, that the board will be sending out a letter of support for Van Park Lions for their annual springtime shindig, May 27th from 6 to 9. I have put together a social media working group that will research the best social media sites the board may utilize to increase the board's presence, usage, and increase information throughout the district. For people and establishments that are not utilizing the current sites. 2 of the members so far in this group are Daniel Nunez and Ed Green, and I'm contacting a few more board members to see if they're interested to join. If you have any marketing skills or you're technically inclined, please reach out to me. They will be working with the board with more consultations, just to do a dive on how we can reach more people and widen the scope. Also on the list is a reminder that committee chairs are authorized by the board chairperson to speak to the press when an inquiry comes in as it relates to their committee. Naturally, at times exceptions will be made, but all press requests must go through the board office. And just for information, the board district has the following zip codes: 10463, 10471, and parts of 10468. And also as far as the officials, and I'm mentioning this because I had the luxury of going to a lot of Zoom meetings the past month and a half, and I observed different things in different committees, and there were a few overlaps. So I'm just giving this out for information, and it is in minutes. We have 3 council members. Council members De La Rosa, Dinwiddie, Sanchez. We have 2 senators, Jackson and Rivera. 3 assembly members, Alvarez, De Los Santos, and Dinwiddie, and 2 congressmen, Escobar and Torres. Also discussed at the exec was the reports of ICE officers in the community. It was reported that ICE officers have shadowed a student in Ellis Academy as they walk from the JFK campus to the 231st Street train. There are now volunteers, adults escorting students, which may have prevented ICE from taking action. We did reach out to the elected officials on this, and so far they haven't given us any information validating this, but it is a concern for the community. And then lastly, I'd like to thank our Vice Chair, Philip Sergio, for attending the recent vigil for the JFK students that were injured recently. And we express our condolences to the family. Sergio, the captain was just on and he was mentioning all the different incidents in the precinct. We'll catch you up. And that's it for my report. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, great, thank you. So then we're gonna move on to the treasurer's report. Our treasurer is unable to be here this evening. So we have our district manager, Farah Gilbert, will report.
Hi, good evening. If you look at the budget that we sent you, we didn't spend that much. There were no budget modifications for this month. And if you look, we have a total of 99,215 remaining in personal services and $39,590 remaining in our other than personal services. We did do our regular monthly spending for the rent, our monthly Zoom bill, some parking reimbursement for meetings, and we also ordered some business cards and nameplates for our new community associate. We have been very conservative with spending, but we will be doing a lot of office supply spending coming up that we need. And that's it really for the budget. Any questions? Thank you. Should I go right into my DM report? Okay. I will continue as district manager now to my report. Good evening again. I want to thank New York Botanical Gardens, who so graciously gave us 100 tickets to distribute for their orchid show on March 1st. It was so very cozy. It took us less than 24 hours to distribute them. And we got some really nice pictures from people thanking us for, being able to go. We distributed to local organizations, schools, and residents in our district. I held my district service cabinet meeting on March 3rd. My next one is April 7th. I attended the Bronx Borough Cabinet meeting on March 4th. Also attended a briefing for all community boards in the outer boroughs to learn more about the long-term citywide greenway expansion planning initiative, focusing on expanding the greenway in underinvested neighborhoods outside of Manhattan. We were very busy with the snowstorms this month, very closely with the Department of Sanitation. And I just want to thank them. They were responsive to all of our requests. There's a new district supervisor there, and he's been really been very responsive. Also went to the Scene Park dog run meeting with Partnership for Parks to see if we can assist and help the residents that want to form a dog run group there. Also, I am attending an Office of Mass Engagement meeting with all my fellow district managers to meet with their office, and there is no borough district person yet, so we're waiting to hear that will be. And then also have a meeting with the chair of economic development tomorrow and the elected officials and the ownership at ABC Realty to discuss the vacant storefronts at Rose Crescent. Also want to thank Intech for their partnership and for always, providing a space for us to have a meeting. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Farah. Okay, so we're gonna go on to committee reports and resolutions. Please use the microphone and wait to be called upon. And be mindful of the time, we have about 16 committees to report, then the elected officials. Okay, so in order will be law, rules and ethics, land use and housing. So law, rules and ethics, online and land use. Chuck, do you have a mic?
No.
Okay, we can get, this one will be ready, and then we can just go on. We'll do 3 at a time, then housing. Rashida? Okay, so the first one is law, rules and ethics. Marty?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. I have three items I want to raise. The first one is you have in front of you, I hope, a copy of the suggested amendment to our bylaws. The intent, which you've discussed for several months now, but now finally have wording on it, is to ensure that we don't have a brain drain. That when term limits hit and members of the board are shown the door, we believe that there are people among them who may choose, if they so wish, to really remain and become a member of a committee that they had been a member of within the last 5 years. And so that we gain from their insight and their experience and not just throw such people out the door. So the intent of the resolution for the amendment is we create a new situation where as term limits hit for the 1 year following the term limits, that person can request to be a member of any one of those committees, again, for which they've been a member of for the last 5 years. This does not change. I mean, this creates a new category, in effect, of community members, specifically as it affects law, rules, and ethics and land use, which historically, or at least in the bylaws, does not permit for community members. But since they were already board members and had been members of the committee, then this exclusion permits them to continue if they so choose. The premise, of course, here is with after the 1 year, the such person can reapply, and if reappointed, becomes a member of the community board again, or does not reapply and continue as a community member of any of those committees. Just note that this is, someone suggested this is in violation of the intent of term limits. I tend to disagree. In years past, every time we've asked a question of the borough president, the answer on certain issues, the answer that comes back is bylaws, the board's bylaws, if it's not in conflict with law, overrules. So all we're asking here or permitting here is that people don't get thrown out the door, but have the opportunity to use their talents and skills in continuing in that fashion. So they have the resolution before you. I hopefully do not have to read it all. And you all have any comments, now is the time.
Any questions, comments? Is that you, Sergio?
Thank you. This is something that, Ellery did work on there when it first came up, I believe. I do have a bit of a problem with, and Martin's maybe, but I do believe it goes against the spirit of the law that was passed that covers term limits. This is, if there's going to be a brain drain, that's what the democratic process called for. There are ways for people to stay on as community members. There's already a way for as community members. I had suggested modifying it to just chair and the chair of the committee to in an exceptional circumstance go around procedures and appoint the committee member. There could be times when people other than those who are past committee board members perhaps should be treated in some exceptional way. Somebody's a past commissioner of parks. That person happens to live in our district and wants to participate, should be allowed to be on the parks committee, with the chair and the committee chair's approval. So I think it's it also comes across as a little self-serving. Since we're doing this now, we're coming up on it. I felt a little discomfort with that. I would feel more comfortable if we just gave broader discretion that would include this. And my language actually said this, it didn't make it around, but I actually said the back said that in exceptional circumstance could include somebody that served as a board member. So we open it up to a larger pool. It seems less to fly in the face of the intent of the law. And it also seems that that's subject to case. So, thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so there are no other comments. Wait, Jessica?
I also sit in the Law Rules and Ethics Committee, and I like this resolution because I just feel like there's a lot of changes happening all over New York City administratively, and I feel like we would be doing ourselves a disservice as a community board by term limiting people out that haven't necessarily transitioned their wisdom to this community board and the new community board members that are on. And I'd like to maintain that until we can one, maybe establish a proper succession plan to new community members. Otherwise, I do feel like we would be at risk at reinventing the wheel and, kind of losing a lot of the knowledge that the people that are still serving in the community board today that may be term limited can bring to the table.
Thank you. Seth?
So I just want to add, I agree essentially with what Sergio is saying, that I think less is more in this case, that keeping it with the discretion of the chair to make exceptions as needed is a simple solution to what could be all kinds of different options. I think the spirit of this rule is just simply that the people who are community committee members have some experience with community boards and the committee, but that could come from lots of different places. They could have lived in Community Board 7 and they've moved to Community Board 8. They could have been, in parks agencies themselves. So I think that it would be better to do less. And then also just as a reminder, everybody can always come to the meetings. The only thing that being a community committee member gets you is voting. And that's not so glamorous, really. And so, I think that, we're not going to have as much of a brain drain. I'm not worried about a brain drain because I think that people will come to meetings where they're interested in the topic and where they continue to be engaged, even if they're not officially on the committee. And I think we've had a lot of really great, smart people who joined the board since 2020, 2019, when these term limits went into effect. So there will be some people who have been on the board for a very long time. But many of them have already started to age out a bit or not been able to come to meetings and their knowledge is slowly getting transferred. So I think that the term limits, as much as I'm not a huge fan of them, but the spirit of them is that there's going to be, it kind of forces us to do this knowledge transfer. And I think that that's good. And that folks will continue to come to meetings if they're interested in the topic. So I don't think we need to make a really complicated rule that we're going to have a hard time debating back and forth when it applies and when it doesn't and all of that. It just seems very complicated to me unnecessarily. Thank you, Stephen.
Hi, I'm also, along with Jessica, Marty, Sergio, on the Law Rules and Ethics Committee. The only reason that we needed a bylaw change here is just because there is a bylaw that says that that two of the committees can't have community committee members, which is LRA and land use. But for that, we don't need a change. And that was just to open that up to that function, to that community committee member for just those two committees. That's it. That's the only reason for the resolution. The discretion of a chair, committee chair and board chair to allow someone to be a community committee member continues. But without this resolution, there would be no discretion to allow the former board members for that year to be community committee members. The board chair doesn't have discretion to override a bylaw. And right now, the bylaws require that someone be an appointed member of the board to serve as a community committee member on just those two committees. And that's what this does. It just takes that requirement away for 1 year for those people. That's it. That's why it's necessary. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, Stephen. Okay, I just want to make a statement. I have to relinquish my chair to Sergio. Just as an observation, I've been on the board for about 27 years. And as chair for the past 3 years, I've always known that land use was an important committee because at one point, every board member had to be on the land use committee plus 2 other committees. That was fun. So those people who are complaining that they have to go to 2 meetings, we used to have to go to 3, and if you were the chair, 4, and then the board 5. And as my position as chair, I definitely see the importance of the knowledge of any land use committee member leaving. It's vital to our community. The knowledge that will be leaving, it's even some of the newer people who have been here 5 years who have been able to gain knowledge from the current chairs. It's amazing. And even as a new person, if they were to leave the committee and they couldn't come back, as a term limited out, I think it would be a disservice for the board and the community. As Steve pointed out, this really affects just the 2 committees, rules and ethics and land use. Because right now our bylaws, all you need is the committee chairperson to make a recommendation for someone to be a member of their committee and the board chair to agree. That's all you need right now, except for rules and ethics and land use. Because our bylaws prevent non-members from being in those 2 committees, as well as the executive budget, but we're talking specifically for the land use and LRE. And for me, land use is vital that we have that knowledge, say, and be able to vote.
Debbie?
I am for the change, and I'm gonna explain to you why. As a chairperson who accepted the chair as for traffic and transportation, there was absolutely no handover. I took it cold. And it's difficult to understand the background of certain issues like City Bike, what other issues that may have been in traffic and transportation over the last 4 or 5 years when you don't have a real good transfer of knowledge and information. Originally, I was against the proposal because I felt if a person's been on the board for 25, 35, 40 years, why hasn't there been a transfer of knowledge? And why are we waiting now this deep into someone's importance on a board? I believe there should be a transition, but I also believe that we shouldn't have brain drain. I hear both sides, but as a new chairperson, I would hope that there would have been somebody to take me under their wing for a year or 2 or something along those lines, because there's a lot of knowledge here, and I would hate to have that gone, and especially for a community board aid, where, we have a special use of trees and so on and so forth, and what different chairs, especially for land use and more efforts in committee, what they bring to community board aid, it's something that it's the knowledge is immeasurable.
Chuck and then Karen.
First, let me say, at least for the next 2 years, this does not affect me. By some folk, even though I've been on the board longer than probably 2 of you combined, for some folk, this coming term will be my last. And my wife would very much appreciate it if it will. I want to point out to you some piece of information, and it illustrates why history is. It wasn't arbitrary or capricious that years ago we put in a rule that you could not serve on the land use committee or on the LRE committee without being a board member and qualified. We had an experience in a very difficult year that surely I know remembers, not fondly remembers, where there was a chair running for public office and had various meetings in support of an issue that chair personally felt important about and that were involved in this campaign. That was not what committee membership is intended. To make it very clear. At this stage in the history of community boards, they have less authority, less power, less persuasive power than ever before in the history of the city of New York. I've been on this committee for over 30 years. I was chair of its predecessor committee, Community Board 14. Our community boards, their importance in all affairs have been diminishing primarily at the specific request of successive chairs of the City Planning Commission. These committees, this board, was formed as the Community Planning Board. It was intended to be and should be a planning entity. Since city planning hasn't done a piece of planning in the last dozen years, the hope was that we would be able to fill that void. And that was exactly why city planning was a firm opponent. Do I have a distaste for city planning? I tell you this by way of background. It is that kind of a background that needs to be preserved, whether it be in my heart or would be in that range of not too distant future, and of other. If we don't keep that history, you will not know that Chervier has been a problem for many years, because it's no longer run by Ben Secua, which is a true not-for-profit entity, but is today run by a bunch of real estate guys. Those are the kinds of things you know, you learn, you retain, and you try to pass along. That's what the purpose of this is. It is done in an effort, a good faith effort by Steve Fruit and Marty Wolkoff and others, to try and preserve the integrity of this board. I can tell you quite frankly, and I think you get directed from the borough president as from the elected official. This board has always been unique. It has always had that makes it work. Whether that's out with people who are experienced in an area, or people who have had life experiences in our community that know what's going on. I urge you to vote for this resolution at a time when we don't know that this administration is really good. The subject of community and the fight historically has always been between those who want all the power centered in City Hall and all of those who want it centered away from City Hall, or at least have community input. The last two mayors wanted to have it all in City Hall. City Council doesn't have much power anymore in many areas because it was taken away by these charter revision commission things, which were dominated by the real estate industry, which I've had, in full disclosure, represent from time to time. But they dominated and controlled that charter revision commission law. Time's up, and thank you for your courtesy.
Karen.
Do we know the average length of participation on committees?
Right.
Did you write this down? Or just collectively? Oh. That's not the issue.
I don't know.
Can we table that question for now? Any other comments, points
Yes,
that have
please.
not been raised? That have not been raised?
As maker of the motion, can I respond to some things?
Sure.
First of all, Sergio gave a list of potential committee members who be denied. That's not true. Any of the people he mentioned who wants to be a committee member, a community member, can do so. And we have a process for that, and it's historic. We've been doing it for years. Secondly, it strikes me listening to Chuck. Chuck is unique in many ways, but you got to understand also that when a developer comes before the land use committee, and shows us a beautiful diagram, beautiful picture, and wonderful suggestions. It's Chuck very often who remembers that 20 or 30 years ago, this very same developer, very same architect pulled a fast one on us. And he remembers what took place and willing to challenge what appears to be a beautiful presentation. So having that historical record. And finally, I don't think we're being high-handed and selective or whatever. I think we're being courteous to people who have dedicated their time to this community. And just to show them the door and say, thank you very much, you're term limited, we don't need you anymore. I think it's a gesture of appreciation to our colleagues to say, we still want you.
Thank you.
You stay on forever or just 1 year, we still
Thanks,
want
Marty. Okay, any other last comments post the motion? All right, then we'll move to a vote, and I would say we need to do a vote. Sylvia, how do you vote in favor of the motion? Of the resolution?
Did you call my name?
Yes.
Oh, I'm for the change because we've never gone
Okay.
through
Thank
term
you.
limits before,
Thank
so.
you. No comment, please. In favor, Debbie Allen?
Favor.
Constance?
Favor.
Bob?
In favor.
Carol? Sebastian? Lee?
In favor.
Wayne?
Favor.
Margaret opposed. Althea?
In favor.
Nicholas?
Yes.
Miriam?
In favor.
Stephen?
In favor.
Julia?
Opposed.
Edward?
Favor.
Emily? Deborah? Harris? Rashida? Barbara?
In favor.
Nicole? Steve? Mathis? Charles?
In favor.
Daniel?
In favor.
Angel?
In favor.
Richard?
In favor.
Brittany? She's not here. Daniel Rowan?
Yes.
Jessica?
Favor.
Laura?
Favor.
Jill, does Jill have EDA?
Yes.
Okay. Jill?
Favor.
Deborah Travis? Sergio?
Oh, that's going in with the door closed.
Karen Walker?
Same.
Jeez, what is the wrong call? Sorry. Got it. Marty?
in favor. And I know if this is the first vote, we have to vote again next month.
Thank you. Julie? Okay, passes. Thank you all. Marty, are you finished with your report?
Yeah, I had two quick items. 2 months ago when the LRE met yesterday, but we didn't meet in February. But in January, an issue of concern was production of minutes after each meeting. And we discussed it last night and decided between the bylaws and open meetings law, the open meetings law takes precedence, and it says minutes are due within 2 weeks of a meeting. And we also wish those who are writing minutes to look up by the law directly or just in general, because some of the minutes are far too voluminous than they need to be. So it's advice and counsel. Please consider that. And finally, it was raised by our chair in our opening comments. We also discussed at some length about individuals being called by the press to make statements. Our bylaws are very specific. Our guidance manual is very specific. you must check in first with the chair for authorization to make a comment to the press. This does not prevent you as an individual. This is what I think, and this is what I believe, isn't the same as speaking on behalf of the committee or behalf of a board. So we are going to come up with some kind of guidelines which we believe will be helpful to all board members to avoid possible conflict. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to land use. Chuck Burley.
Good evening. Land use will meet tomorrow night at the board office. There are a couple of issues I'd like to flag for particularly those of you who can make a significant contribution if you are prepared. I spoke a moment ago about the fact that the reform as a community planning. And that there has been, and I doubt very much that most of you would disagree, there has been a real lack of planning for communities going forward for the past few years. I'm going to show you tonight, quickly, and then tomorrow fully, where that causes a real problem. It's in the Van Cortlandt area. The Van Cortlandt area has a long and wonderful history for this community board and for this city. The Amalgamated was a housing project without equal at the time. The homes, the individual private homes in the area attracted people that served the city long and well and gave people a hope that they could achieve a result. And this is the point in time when many people of color are finally able to afford to move into those kind of homes and to get them. And that is being made not deliberately, but by reason of abandonment of planning to destroy that hope. The Van Cortlandt area was very stable until a couple of years ago, when the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center found that it could no longer make it in that area. It wasn't the only religious institution in this community that ran afoul of that. If I'm taking too long, please forgive me. But I think this is of critical importance. It couldn't make it, and so it decided to sell the company. As happens in many areas, when a centerpiece of a community or a block or an area falls, the whole area is in jeopardy. And conversely, if you put good housing in an area that has problems, it can attract better. It change that neighborhood for the better. You see both of those in Van Cortlandt is in a state where I would say it's full of commercial buildings. I give it 5 years before it becomes a slum and continue down the premium. The city of New York has allowed at least eight micro units to be developed in that area. Don't think that a micro unit is cheap. That's only on the boundary. These units of 400 square feet are getting up to $3,000 a month in rent. They have no access, real access to public transportation. They have no access to medical care. They have no access to jobs. They do have access to the local gym buildings. There are enough of them in that area. The point I'm making on this is we're going to focus and hopefully try to persuade that change to come, led by the new building commissioner, who is in really wonderful opportunity. He is a wonderful opportunity. Have new thought, new act in the city of New York. So he is looking now at micro units in neighborhoods. 8 units tucked within 5 blocks of each other. And more are being quiet for right now. Kevin, I need your help. I need your help bad. We need to put together a study that can be submitted, I guarantee you, significant public relations press activity once we get it done. That shows what the community was, what it could be, and what it will be. So please, it can't be done by 3 or 4 people. I'm putting on friends of mine in this board to try and help. We need everybody's help. Because there are issues that have to be explored. Why are these people moving? Why is it practical? How can anybody afford $3,000 a month for 400 square feet? And why could they be charged $3,000 a month for 400 square feet? Why should you have an absence of planning that destroys a community by building without any kind of control? So please, 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 let Julie, let know if you could help us. We need that help. Because next week, we're going to, tomorrow night, start signing areas of information that we need to pull together. Luckily, we have one of the best damn writers on our committee. So Bob Ben was going to be plenty busy putting it together. Let's think about it. But the point is, we need your help. That's issue number 1. Issue number 2 is equally serious. There are, and always, this happens about every 3 years. If it's too long, I'll stop. We are also going to try and deal with the Chevier issue, which is a really serious one. But I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck. You're good? Thank you, Chuck. Anybody have any questions or comments? Julia?
Because I live in the amalgamated and I don't know enough about microneedling experience. I mean, my instinct is sketchy. I do take exception to the characterization that it's going to turn into a slum, that there's no access to public transportation. There are 3 bus lines and an express bus. So while I think I know where you're going, I'd like us to be very careful about how we get there, because that is still a neighborhood of mostly middle-class people working hard to get through. My sister is raising her son there, and I think certain language, not just because we don't like what's happening, can actually have adverse effects on the community.
Any other comments? Laura, you have it's okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna go on to housing.
Thank you. So I'll just start with our next meeting, which is Monday, March 23rd, 6:30, currently at the board office. We'll most likely be discussing the budget and perhaps we'll have a guest speaker. That's not what my friends are. So our last meeting was on February 23rd. It was during the storm, so we have the meeting online. We invited 2 guest speakers from like New York City Housing Board. For those of you who may not know the whole thing. Those 2 guest speakers came to speak about PACT, which stands for Permanent Affordability Committed Together. And basically they talked about the sort of upgrades and improvements that they plan to make for residents living in NYCHA. They also called for us to urge our local, state, and federal officials to please fund NYCHA, because if I'm correct, I think the federal budget was cut by maybe 14%. Don't quote me, I know I'm on video, but the NYCHA budget was cut, and so in order for these changes and renovations to be made, we need the funding. And if anyone here would like to help us with our budget, we wouldn't, as a committee, we don't necessarily want everything to come from us. We would like people who are affiliated with Lecture and any other entity to come to our meeting so that your voices can be heard when we talk about the budget. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Rashida. Any questions, comments? Dr. Wayne?
No comments. Yeah.
Okay, no questions. Thank you. So you're up as Health and Hospital Social Service.
Good evening. So, we had, since our last meeting, we've actually had 2 meetings. So we met on February 11th. And then we met again on March 5th. I'll say briefly why we did that. So on the 11th, we had a representative from the Alzheimer's Association who discussed their goals in terms of work advocacy as well as some of their campaigns. They discussed in brief some of the rates on Alzheimer's disease and prevalence, the high prevalence, unfortunately, in the province. And I do believe that some of that information was also for the aging committee. And so they are interested in liaising and kind of coordinating with a lot of community groups just to raise awareness. The second group that we had present was Mosaic Mental Health Services. And so, unfortunately, at the time that was added to the agenda at the last minute regarding their two things. They are their main facility from 5676 Riverdale Avenue to 239th Street, where the Jewish ward was previously located. And in addition, they are now no longer rented. They are now under the Office of Mental Health, and so as a result, they needed support regarding their crisis services, as well as they've had another support for supporting their presence in the community. So we did, and they needed to have some form. They needed to inform the community. They needed to kind of make a statement in that. So in order to have public transparency and have community involvement, that's why the meeting was held. So that, and we do have a resolution that is listed. And you would have the opportunity to see it fully, but give me a second to take a look.
Whereas.
Okay, so in short, the only other point that we would I would like to modify, if that is agreed upon, whereas the Health, Hospital, and Social Services Committee had voted unanimously to recommend approval of the Mosaic Mental Health Services request for a PADMED letter of response, a PADMED response / support with the following conditions. Document plan to address patient drop off and pickup, considering the possibility of congestion at a traffic intersection. Demonstrate resources to ensure that patients are appropriately situated at the facility before and after their facility, and then timing for additional community response. And I'd like to add by the time of our next meeting, it would be April 8th. And then we get pursuant to that New York State mental hygiene law. It resolved that the Bronx Community Board 8 supports Riverdale Health Association application pursuant for licensure of the AIDS Crisis Respite Center located at 232nd Street and the relocation of its main facilities to the 239th Street facility.
Thank you, Doctor. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, so then we'll take it to a vote. Is there anyone opposed to the resolution? Abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you. And move the meeting again on April 8th.
Okay, thank you. The next report of our sanitation, Daniel Rowan.
Okay, we also have a resolution, in our last meeting on February 18th, we had a sample application for mobile outreach bus for, New York City Department of Small Business Services. They were gonna do it on the day of the blizzard, so now we are approving it ahead of time, which is perfect. So it will now be on Thursday, March 19th from 10 a.m. to 2:30. They just want to use up like 3 or 4 spots in front of basically like the meeting. It has the address on here somewhere, 3535 Johnson. Otherwise, we approved, the board unanimously approved this, and they've done this before, and great. The motion, or do I?
Any discussions on the resolution? No discussion, so we'll take it to a vote. Anyone disapprove? Abstain? Passes.
Perfect, and then our next meeting is on Wednesday, next week, not tomorrow. Also the 18th, because February only has 28 days. We're gonna talk to, Dennis's office about litter cleanup things, which is super fun. So if you have ideas for areas in the district that you feel absolutely need litter collection more often than the amount or never that they get now, let the board office know, and we will add it to our list of places other than around the restaurant. Etc. Other than that, oh, and then we are writing a letter in support of improvements to the Yonkers wastewater treatment facility, maybe to mitigate the smell that I guess people get at, Skyview and stuff sometimes. The board has always gotten a lot of complaints about this, and they have a public comment or agency comment period. So we already have the letter, and we're just gonna talk about it at the meeting. So if you care or wants to tell us whether or not it still smells, come next week.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions, comments? That's it, Dan?
Yes, that is all.
Okay, great, thank you. We're gonna move on to Sylvia Alexander, Education, Libraries and Cultural Affairs.
Right. I did not have a meeting in February because of the blizzard we had. I sent, with the aid of Jalen, the letter to the principals, and the response has been very good. The due date that I gave them was the 13th, which is Friday. I'm expecting some more responses. And our next meeting is March 24th.
Thank you, and congratulations to your new vice chair, Miriam, for your time. Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions or comments for Sylvia, Education? Okay, we'll move on to Economic Development, Constance Barnes.
Good evening. We met on March 3rd, board office. Prior to that, Cesar helped with the folks over at Knowles Crescent. I think all you know, I'm working very closely with them. We have also decided to partner with the Aging Committee to talk about supporting them as well. Betty Cavanaugh Adams, Most Valuable Merchant Awards will close. The nominations will close on the 20th. I ask everyone in here to please promote. You only have one application. So please promote, suggest, you can nominate. Please do that. And our next meeting will be April 7th.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to budget. Jessica has a question for economics.
Yeah, you guys.
Oh, wait. We need the mic only for the people in Zoom. Thank you, Jessica.
Do you have like a flyer or something that, okay, a digital flyer that we can share, post, all that? Excellent. All right.
And right, they're on the counter here too.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure that it would be easy to do that, to promote.
Okay, that's it, Becky. Thank you. Go on to budget, Sebastian.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We had our public comment session for the agency response for the FY 27 priorities. 6:30 today, we had one comment. Just a couple of days to keep in mind, March 13th, that's this Friday. If any of the committees have any comments to the agency response that we received last month, please submit it by the 13th so we can draft the response from community board to mayor's office, as well as keep in April and May 15th. May 15th is the due date for capital and expense budget priorities. If your committees are not meeting in the first half of May, I suggest finalizing it during your meetings. That's from the budget. Thank you.
Questions, comments? Thank you, Sebastian. We'll go on to aging, Barbara Kell.
And we met February 12th. And we had a presentation by Susan Slang, chair of the aging committee for the city council. She requested input from us for the mayoral budget hearings and suggested that we could influence them either by testimony or writing letters. And she would help us figure out the dates of the best way to do that. We are working on the resource guide still. We have categories together, we've assigned categories, and we are updating them at the moment. And we sent out a letter for budget priorities. And we are working the economic development committee, especially in the area of those, because that impacts the aging community. Any questions, comments?
Thank you, Barbara. Go on to special committee on veterans services.
Thank you. We had a meeting February 26th. We got a visit from a contractor for a city Department of Veteran Services. She works for the Disabled American Veterans. She gave us some very, very good information. And it was a resource guide that the city has. We sent it to the office. Hopefully we can post it and put it in whatever format we can. So there's already a resource guide out there for that. November 1st, the site is going to be it's going to be Memorial Grove. Double check that. Our Memorial Grove event. Please be on the lookout. There will be more activity coming up related to that. We also took an initial vote on a person who, community member, we suggesting maybe part of maybe be a recipient of our available veteran. I don't know that we actually voted on that award, and then we had spoken and the committee had come out with the criteria for the award. Check the minutes, but if we have, that would be forthcoming. It may be just in one fell swoop, the person and that they give the award if the board feels it's advisable to give the award. There was some back and forth on the individual. We don't name individuals. So thank you for whoever. Thank Julia, my vice chair. She did not put the person's name in there, but people know who the person's name is involved, and we will get back. And did us any questions? Yes.
You're aware about the memorial hit with a car accident? Both the steps to the memorial there.
Oh, really?
No, it's really developed.
Who's gonna fix
Parts.
it?
Because it could be loud, right? Wow.
Look like a plow.
It looks like a plow.
Wow.
Real bad.
No, thank you.
Okay.
That's what we really appreciate. Anything else? No. And back to Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sergio. And we will await the criteria. That's what we need. Thank you.
Criteria we have. You don't have a motion on the award.
Okay. Well, I'll look for the criteria.
Okay.
Okay, Next committee, Special Committee on Racial Equity, Board Member. Hi, everyone. We met last Thursday, the 5th, as well. We went over sort of a recap on the Broadway corridor, just reviewing what each standing committee has been working on in terms of the recommendations that came down from, a few walkthroughs, issues that we've been seeing along the corridor that certainly impact people's ability to get on and off trains, to get safely from one side of the intersection to the other. Everything from safety to sanitation to youth engagement, and sort of all culminates with this conversation around cross community collaboration, cross committee collaboration. So trying to think of ways in which standing committees can be collaborating around topics that need multi-agency intervention and collaboration and resources. So we touched base on that. We shared a tracker with standing committee chairs, just on some of the metrics we're hoping to be able to accomplish. And certainly you can hear from all of the issues that were addressed tonight, everything from the 50th police precinct all the way to sanitation. So I think there's a lot for us to work on. We haven't had sort of a joint committee meeting on it, but perhaps that's something that we could address, considering how difficult it is right now. So we recapped that, also updated or discussed our planning process to update some of our documents. That includes our budget request map that indicates where budget requests have, like, not where they occurred, but where they exist within the community, so that everyone can see exactly what's been requested, where are the biggest asks, where are the biggest gaps. Some of the data from that is updated on an annual basis about community board members. And some, I feel like I'm missing one last thing. Oh, the activities of each standing committee. So that's as part of our interim report, we rehash some of the issues that the standing committees have focused on in terms of equity. So the vice chair, Althea, she and I and whoever else will be going over some of the topics that you all have been working on throughout the year, try to capture those, get the chairs to sign off on those, and then include those in our interim report that's due in June. Our next meeting is likely the first Thursday in May, but TBD. Thank you. Any questions, comments? So we'll move on to the Special Committee on Hudson River Greenway.
Thank you. The committee itself did not meet in the past month. However, there was a meeting that was attended by a couple of members of the committee, specifically Steve Fruit and Deb Travis, and also by our board chair and district manager. And that was a meeting that was specifically for community board and citywide. It was conducted by the Economic Development Corporation, which is one of the three agencies involved in this project, which is the Greater Greenways project that was discussed at our January committee meeting. And that's an updating of the citywide greenways that was developed last year and is now being presented to, as I say, community boards throughout the city. I myself was not there because I was away at that time. I have reviewed the video of the meeting. It largely recapitulated what we discussed at our committee meeting on January 29th. But this time it included a lot of input from the community boards, from members of the community boards who asked a lot of questions, helped to clarify the proposal. But it's in the minutes of our committee's January 29th meeting. And of course, the video, as I mentioned, is also available. The most important thing that came out of it, as far as members of the board are concerned, is that EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, has a survey, a greenway survey, that the members of the committee have already answered, but it was sent out by the board office after the meeting to everybody on the board. If you haven't taken the survey, please do that, because it's the input from the communities that's going to have some bearing on the way in which these greenways are developed, the ones that don't already exist, but also some of the ones that do exist that need some modifications. So please find that email. And please do take the survey. It takes no more than 15 minutes. In fact, you can probably do it in 10 minutes.
Thank you, Bob. And I didn't make that meeting. Thank you, Stephen and Travis, for arranging the schedules and attending. And I know Farrah went to this interesting meeting. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So we're gonna go on to you.
Good evening. So very quickly, the youth committee last met on February 12th and discussed our budget and the youth resource guide that we're continuing to work on. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, March 16th. And at the board office, and we'll be reviewing applications for the Yankee, the New York and Field Award, and also working on finalizing our budget.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, traffic and transportation.
Good evening, all. We had a meeting on February 19th. We continue to try to engage and work with the DOT and the areas in which we are still working with DOT is one of the topics discussed was resurfacing and milling schedule for potholes. I know that's a great topic. And that if there are people that are concerned with any potholes, please call 311. And you can also use the app. The DOT also has an app that you can also get an invoice number, and you can forward that to the board office once you have that, and they will follow up on it. We continue to work with the DOT. They're going to be posting a resurfacing schedule also that they're going to send to us, so our community will know where they are resurfacing and also the milling schedule. We continue to try to work with DOT, and also there's some issues on with traffic on Bailey Avenue. Businesses are expressing concerns that people are not having access to their businesses as a result of the bike lanes and so on and so forth on Bailey Avenue, and we're trying to work with DOT to come up with solutions to some of the areas of concern. One of the other areas which we'll be working with the safety committee is double parking is one of the areas where it has impacted traffic also in that corridor. Our meeting also included Access-a-Ride. People in our community can have access to Access-a-Ride, how they coordinate getting that service for those that have issues with mobility issues and also being able to get to doctor's appointments. Our next meeting will be March 12th. We have a full agenda, and you can review that on the website. I do have a resolution dining out application, Dale Diner located at 189 West 231st Street. And the committee unanimously this applicant.
Okay, is there any discussion on the resolution? Okay, so we'll go for a vote. Anyone abstain? Objects? Approved.
Okay, thank you. And our next meeting is March 12th.
Thank you, Betty. Our next is traffic and transportation. I'm sorry. Long day. Public safety.
Good evening. Okay, so the Public Safety Committee, we have 5 resolutions. 4 of them were from the State Liquor Authority. We had 3 renewals, 1 for Carl Restaurant at 135 Kingsbridge Road. 1 for one for Van Cortlandt Park Golf Course at 115 Van Cortlandt South, and 1 for Black's Bar and Grill at 3713 Riverdale Avenue. We also have an alteration application for Ocagua at 3541 Riverdale Avenue, and their alteration is they're taking over the adjacent place to open more space for the restaurant, so they'll have 3543 as well. The had no issues with any of these businesses, and the committee voted to approve all of these applications unanimously. I would like to take a vote on them all at once in interest of time.
Sounds good. Any objections? Okay, so any discussions on the applications? Any objections? Abstentions? Approved.
Okay, and our last application, last resolution rather, was from the Office of Campus Management, new application license. So 3 Guys Can LLC, which wants to operate at 6677 Broadway, applied for a retail dispensary premises license, campus license. So one of their representatives appeared. I'm gonna just kind of summarize this rather than reading this. So, you know, the committee, we distributed flyers to the neighborhood to let people know they had the opportunity to attend the meeting and express their views. The board received 31 emails from community residents and civic groups. Civic groups. All 31 were in opposition. We had no letters of support for this business. Every letter we received had various reasons. The main reason being that 667 Broadway is going to be right next door to the 130 men's homeless shelter, which is going to open. I think it's correct. So, you know, the concerns were that it's going to have an impact, not a good impact on a very vulnerable population, possibly, you know, affect mental health and substance abuse disorders. So that's what many of the concerns was about. Also that there's Little League field across the street, bus stop where children go to school. It's about it really belonging in a commercial corridor rather than a residential neighborhood. Non-existent parking. There's a bus stop right there where the buses make U-turns that could create some type of traffic jam also. So those were really all complaints. And also this is the 3rd applicant to apply at this particular location. The previous 2 withdrew their applications. So
Okay.
and last but not least, most important. So Bronx Community Board 8 passed a resolution in December of 2023 recommending that recreational marijuana dispensaries not be sited less than 500 feet from community facilities such as homeless shelters. So the committee voted unanimously. This is the application. So if you're voting in favor of this resolution, you're voting to disapprove this application.
Okay, with that said, is there any discussions? So we'll vote. We're gonna do backwards. Who approves this resolution? Voting with the committee to disapprove. Like you're accepting the committee's recommendation to not allow this establishment at this location. Okay, so now, if you could put your hand down for a minute, now, who votes the opposite way to make it easy? Any abstentions? Okay, passes. Thank you,
Okay,
Ed.
just briefly, committee report, so we had an amazing FDNY fire safety work. Really good, I would refer everybody to our minutes, and at our next meeting, we are going to have, Darcy Clark's, two of Darcy Clark's ADAs from the, district attorney's office, discuss some of these high profile incidents that have happened, in our area, as well as, youth crime in general. So, welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And Jill had her hand up, please. Jill?
Yeah, I just wanted to register my vote to in agreement with the committee's position. I have a train going by, so that's why I mute myself, but I couldn't unmute
You
to
will
get
fit.
back in before.
Thank you, Jill. Okay,
Yes. Present. There is.
Hey, so I had the opportunity to view and attend some state liquor authority meetings. And
I found very telling, and I sent it to the board and asked them to send it to everybody. It covers, the discussion was on blanket policies, blanket denials that are not related to a particular individual applicant. And how that was found, that came before the SLA from a community board denial in another area. And they said, well, your policy is no, it's not related to this. I think it's informative. I want the entire board to hear that as well. Thank you.
Just quickly, is there any video that I could watch as far as that's concerned?
yeah, I copied to one.
Okay, I'll take a look, thank you.
See what one of my emails.
and I got a lengthy response.
And then the lady responds.
We're going to, this is a committee discussion though.
Yes, it's my personal email.
It's a discussion for the Public Safety Committee. It was a lengthy back and forth. But thank you, Sergio. And we'll hear about it in public safety. The next, anything else? Anyone else? Okay, Parks and Recreations, Deb Travis.
Last meeting was February 25th. Last meeting was February 25th. The Bronx Park Speak Up has happened since. It was I attended. It was very well attended. Bob was there as well, representing Greenway. And the new Parks Commissioner, Tim O'Rourke, was there and spoke to the all of the attendees. It was a great event. I wanted, at our Parks Committee meeting, we discussed the budget priorities. We had a very good discussion about all of the various priorities. We worked on the resource guide. We're making some good substantial changes to the resource guide and making some good progress on that. The one thing to highlight, one is the Seton Park Golf Run. We're still trying to get a group together, so if you know folks who are interested in improvements to the dog run, please have them contact the office. And the mayor has issued his preliminary budget and cut the parks budget by $33 million less than what it is already. Instead of getting us up to 1%, it's less than 0.5%. So there's a lot of advocacy around. I encourage you to write to the mayor if you would like, but certainly write to our council member and make sure that the city council is advocating for 1% of funding. And that's it. My next committee meeting is March 25th.
Thank you. Please write to all the council members. Our last committee report. Emily House. Now, everyone should have a voting sheet in front of you. Two organizations that a summary that Emily is going to be discussing. We prefer not to mention any names at this point. It will be 1 and 2. And Emily, I give you the floor, and that concludes our committee report. Emily.
So
This is not, okay, great. So the Irving Latimer Community Service Award Committee met last week. And we unanimously voted on these two nominees, and I'm gonna read the summaries. So nominee number one was focused on community-based solutions to reduce food waste, address hunger for almost 6 years. Their mission centers around rescuing food surplus and redirecting it to neighbors in need, ensuring fresh, healthy food reaches people instead of landfills through partnerships with local schools, farms, bakeries, restaurants, markets. Volunteers collect and distribute edible food that would otherwise be discarded. The organization also educates community members and partners about safe and legal food donation practices, helping expand participation to food rescue efforts. The second nomination is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting growth and well-being in the Kingsbridge community by supporting families and youth. Since its founding in 2019, the organization has hosted holiday events, basketball tournaments, and school supply drives for local families. They also support youth development through their AAU basketball program, which provides mentorship, leadership opportunities, and safe spaces for young people. Their community tournaments also help strengthen neighborhood unity. What we liked about both of these is they came from two different areas of the district, that they had long-standing history, so 5+ years, and that they had really, they both had really like wonderful reputations. There wasn't like a bad, not like a bad thing to say about them. Everybody could come into interaction with them, and also they were very grassroots, like really filling a need within their communities. It was the common thread through both.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, does anyone have any questions, comments, or discussion? Steve? And then
This is really more just a question, opinion, but is nominee number one limited to our general area of the Bronx, or is that something that comes across other neighborhoods and boroughs? I just don't.
Thank you for asking. It's specifically for ours here in the Bronx. And there's a specific location that's on the application, and I'm happy to pass that down for you to see.
I just wanted to speak in favor of the second nominee. I run a park stewardship group, Drone Park Friends and Neighbors, and we had really long-standing relationship with this group. They've been amazing partners. They've done a lot of coalition building with other stakeholders around the reservoir, and their events are just very, very well attended, and they're very much a beloved member of the community. So I think they're well worthy of this award. Also, I just want on the first group, I think there was a question about whether they had already received this. They have not.
Thank you for asking, and that was also something we had looked into, and I want to thank the board for keeping excellent records. We received a complete list of awardees. Thank you, and they had never received it. So, but thank you for asking.
any other comments or questions? Chuck?
I may have missed this, but is there any requirement that bars us from making them COVID?
No, that they can, we're voting either 1 or 2. Last year, I think we had like 5.
Yeah, but
There is no limitation. There is no limitation.
if we voted, we could make them both.
Yes, we only have the number 1 and 2, so we're not naming the individuals in case they get voted down. The board members have the information on who they are. But we can vote for both of them, yes.
Madam Chairman.
Just to clarify for Chuck, it's not like a first and second place. We could have named them like X and Y.
So having one appointed with both of them.
Right?
No,
Why can we not name both of them?
that we can name both of them. The only reason it has 1 and 2, that's in place of their name. We can say A and
So
B.
may I then ask the chair's permission to make a motion, both of them be named, so that we recognize everybody who does a really good job.
We want to name them after they're either approved, hopefully. The reason that we're not naming them, because an incident happened in the past where someone was named, and it's, the board members know who they're voting on. Can you do this? Listen, this has been in existence since Zoom happened, and every year it's a different procedure, a different, I don't wanna say the word, but it's just messed up sometimes. So this was a happy medium. The people who wanted to know the nominating, the board members have that information. Hopefully it'll pass, and once it's passed, Emily will name them afterwards. So.
I think there just might be some confusion. I think that Chuck is just asking that we can put both candidates forward for this award, and the answer is yes. And I would like to move the vote, that we put both candidates forward for this award.
Thank you. May I have the permission to make that motion?
We're gonna vote on this. I'm sorry, not gonna be here till 9:30. We're gonna vote. Any objections for the 2 nominees listed in the sheet in front of you, nominee number 1 and 2, not in any specific order? Any objections? Any abstentions? Approved. Emily, would you like to please read the last line of?
I could see the names.
Yes.
Okay, great. So nominee number 1 was the Friendly Fridge, and nominee number 2 were We Are 39.
Thank you.
For the.
Thank you. Thank you for your committee for the work. Your committee is still in existence until the awards are presented. Thank you, Lori. So now we're gonna move on to the elected officials. We're going on to item number 12 for council members. Going to go to council member Brianna Sanchez.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Gonna do a rapid fire report, but first of all, just good to see everyone, at least from the distance. So a couple things. One, I had my first ever State of the District in District 14 on February 10th. It was at the same time as your board meeting, so I hope you were not there and you were here. But if you missed it, it is available on YouTube, where I talk about some of the top priorities for this year, including the SAFER Act, which I'll talk about in a bit, a planning study for Harlem River North, which touches on the that parcel between the 207th Bridge and 225th Street and Marble Hill houses, implementation of things like the Kingsbridge Armory win that we had, implementation of street mending reform, and implementation of a $3 million grant that the governor gave us for community safety, which I'll talk about. Just a couple of flags on things that are happening in the district and in and around the district in the coming weeks. Tomorrow is the mayor's rental ripoff hearing. It's at Fordham University. So he's having one per borough. I'll be at the one in the Bronx. Encourage you all to share with constituents. It's really meant for the public to have a space to make their voices heard. My office is partnering with the New York Animal Care and Control to do a mobile adoption event on Saturday, March 28th. By the way, in there somewhere with you is Maria Jose Mares, who is a new community representative in our office, and she's phenomenal. So please, Maria, if you could wave wherever you are, she has the flyers for some of the things I'm talking about. We also have our Easter celebration coming up. It's like 1,000 kids at St. James Park. It's open to everybody in the district. and a couple of legislative updates. We had a hearing on the third-party transfer reform bill that I have, which is the SAFER Act Intro 657. It is a 70-page bill, and it was I want to say 7-hour hearing, but that is my top legislative priority, hoping to get that done this year, which would bring back the third-party transfer program in a completely overhauled way, giving the city the power to take buildings away from the worst landlords after a fair process. We also check your inboxes at CB8, really, the staff. You should start getting fire notifications this month from FDNY. That's a bill that I passed a year and a half ago, I want to say, forcing the FDNY to give us information about fires as they happen so that we can aid in the community response. And that's really a lot of what we've been up to the last couple weeks. We've had, I want to say, 15 fires. I met with the fire commissioner, the new fire commissioner last week. We've had 15 fires since the beginning of the year compared to 9 at this time last year. So we're really going in the wrong direction. And we always try to do fire response, but it's more about what is happening in our district and trying to figure out how to address that. Speaking of which, on a related note, budget hearings, you all just mentioned it a bunch of times, but budget hearings at the city council start tomorrow. We're starting with finance. The fire committee, just because I mentioned it, is on Friday. But we're going to be having marathon hearings, 3 to 4 agencies having their hearings every single day for the next 3 weeks. And so as you put together your responses or you have your priorities for the community board, let me know. Top priority for me is Bailey. And actually, that's pretty good. I'll stop right there. Thank you for the time, and it's good to see everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember. And yes, Maria came right early. We had a chance to speak with her before the meeting. And one of the nominees this evening for our Irving Latimer Community Service Award is from the District Theory 9. So thank you for coming. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the council member? No? Thank you. We'll go on to Councilmember Eric Zinowitz. No. And Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa. Okay, is there anyone here from the mayor's office? We haven't been advised who's taking Ms. Dow's place, but there's no one here from the mayor's office.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call out for any of the elected officials, if anyone is here from the district attorney's office,
Hello, good evening.
Jeffrey Pena?
Yes, sorry. Hi, good evening. My name is Jeffrey Pena. I am a community engagement coordinator at the Bronx District Attorney's Office. I was going to speak about our youth summit. However, we are at max capacity. So I'll be here to the end of the meeting. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Dario Quinzet from Senator Robert Jackson's office.
Good evening, everybody. Dario Quinzet from Senator Jackson's office. We are in the middle of budget season. Our budget process has already started. Today, the chambers released their one house budget. We have not had time to review them, so we cannot answer those questions. On a different note, the Senate has introduced legislation that would extend unemployment benefits to New York State residents for an extra 6 weeks. That caught the attention of Newsweek. If some of you still read that, you probably saw that. If you didn't, we're letting you know now. And we are also working on legislation that's related to housing. We're probably having a conversation with the Councilmember Sanchez about getting support from the city, because obviously the city of New York is very important in regards to housing and getting bills passed that are related to New York City. So that's pretty much it for right now. Have any questions? And again, our office phone number is 202-544-01.
Thank you, Dario. Questions, comments? Jessica?
Hi. Hi. I just wanted to follow up on the ComEd bill increases. When are they supposed to start? That's a question.
Okay, So the new rate started on February 1st. They are supposed to sadly show up in your wallet as a pain starting pretty much March and going forward. And many of the people that sit at the rate negotiating table think that your rates, at least temporarily, the foreseeable future, for at least the next 90 days, will be an extra 20% higher because of what's happening in the global, let's say, oil. So get ready for a difficult spring in regards to your utilities.
Thank you.
It's a flat, we were just going to mention that the cost of your Con Ed bill is unfortunately increasing, as is mine. But there is a program for subsidizing some more, or like it expanded the subsidy for your electric bill. You can go to NYEEAP, like you can Google that and then see if you can qualify. They did extend like the salary band and all that, so more New Yorkers are available for that. And if you have questions about that, feel free to ask. We're helping with those applications as well in our office.
Thank you. And that was representative for Councilmember Sanchez. Dario, that's it. Thank you. We're gonna go on to Senator Gustavo Rivera's representative, Flavio Salazar.
Good evening, everyone. You see me? Let me see.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Flavio Salazar. I'm sorry I can't be there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I'm Flavio Salazar. I'm sorry I can't be with you today in person, but I wanted to give you a couple of updates from our office. On February 27th and March 3rd, our team hosted our annual screening day with Parts of the Solution and the New York City Department of Finance, where we screened over 45 constituents for the rent freeze and property tax programs, SCREE, DREE, Start of eStar, and SHE. There's some upcoming deadlines. If you were not able to call our office to make an appointment, we are still able to assist you with those applications, or we can screen you to see if you are eligible. The next event that we have coming up is on April 19th. Our office is hosting a Earth Day event and tree giveaway with Riverdale Neighborhood House, KRBC. We are going to be giving away over 200 trees with the recreational project. So want to register, please call our office at 718-933-2034. Thank you.
Thank you, Flavio. We'll move on to Assemblymember Nani de los Santos, any representative? We'll move on to Assemblymember Jeffrey Dinowitz. Is there anything still there?
Hi, everyone. I just want to remind you that our paper shredding events are coming up soon. We're currently finalizing the dates, but there will be our 3 options, like always, one in front of our office, one in Riverdale, and one in Woodlawn. So we'll keep you posted once we finalize those dates.
Thank you. Assemblymember George Alvarez. Congressman Richie Torres' office. And Congressman Adriano Espinola. Their representative here for Councilmember Dinowitz.
Hi, yes, thank you. I was having technical difficulties and unable to unmute on my end, but thank you so much for that. My name is Caleb Auerbach. I'm a constituent advocate in Councilmember Dinowitz's office. I just joined last week, so I'm very excited to be working with you all. To get to current cases, our office has been made aware of ongoing issues with Manhattan University students, particularly on 238th Street between Greystone and Waldo Avenues. Councilmember Dinowitz continues to work closely with the Manhattan University president, NYPD, and local constituents to improve the quality of life for all residents. Of note, in collaboration with Assemblymember Dinowitz, Councilmember Dinowitz helped shut down Fenwick's Bar, which has been illegally operating without a liquor license in addition to serving underage persons. Moving on to a clothing bin cleanup, a constituent alerted our office that there was an overflowing clothing drop-off bin located in the parking lot of 3601 Waldo Avenue. Our office reached out to the owning company Helpsy, who assured us that a driver will address the site by end of day today. So hopefully by tomorrow, the site will be all cleared up. And then regarding the shooting on 238th Street, Councilmember Dinowitz has been in close contact with the school principal, superintendent, NYPD, and community violence interrupters. Councilmember Dinowitz specifically met with Bronx Rises Against Gun Violence, or BRAG, which is a Wakefield-based group bringing their support to CB8. Councilmember Dinowitz has also previously advocated for anti-gun violence efforts, notably funding youth programming through the Bronx Historical Society.
Thank you. And welcome to your new office. Enjoy. If there are any elected officials or representatives either in the room or on Zoom, please raise your hand on Zoom. And those people in the room, I couldn't grab them, but let's keep a conversation to one person at a time speaking. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to all business. Does anyone have any new business? Okay, our next board meeting is Tuesday, April 14th. And we'll be meeting at the synagogue on 475 West 250th Street. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Okay. Everyone disagree? Have a good night, everybody.